Miss Melina, I'm really confused. On these two equations, they're different because this one's subtraction and this one's addition, but I got the same answer and I really don't know what's going on. Well, when I did this equation and then when I put it in my calculator and I did 2 minus 3, it gave me -1, and I did 2 plus a -3, and it gave me -1, and I'm just very confused because this is a subtraction sign, and this is an addition sign, and I have 2's and 3's, but I'm still getting -1, and I just don't know what I'm doing wrong.
This is your fairy math teacher, here to help you. Okay, so what you're seeing is that this one I'm doing 2 minus a +3, right? And I'm getting -1. And in this equation, we're doing 2 plus a -3 and still getting -1. So you're confused because the operations are different, but we're getting the same answer.
Exactly.
Okay. There's other things that are different, right? We have some negatives going on and positives here, right? And what I'm about to show you is that when I subtract, it is the exact same thing as adding a negative. So what I think we should do is I'm going to show you, instead of just using our calculators and using numbers, is I'm going to show you using some algebra tiles in this little tub here. Okay. And I think these will kind of help us out to figure out what we need to do next.
Good, because I'm still so confused, and I think I really need some help.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write the equations down first, and then we'll do the model at the bottom. So I'm going to write down the first one that we had. We had a 2 minus 3 equals -1. Right? And then on the other one, I'm going to write the other equation, which is 2 plus -3 equals -1. So those are my two equations. And right off the back, I'm just going to go over what I've heard some students ask, and they'll usually bring up, is how do you know that this is a minus and it's not a negative? Or how do you know that this is a minus or not a negative? I get this question all the time. Well, how do I know what's happening? And I'll answer it two ways. If it's in between two numbers, it's a minus sign. Usually whenever it's a negative, like on this guy right here, it'll have a addition, then it'll have -3, or you could see parentheses around it. So just so you know, you can see it either way. And then of course, if it's by itself, you know that it's a negative. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the question that you're having, Miss Novak.
Yes, I'm so lost.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to use these little algebra tiles, really, and they're just different types of models. One side is red, and when I flip it over, the other side is yellow. So it's just two colors. And for this demonstration, I made one like a key. So the yellow side will say is the positive side, and then the red side will say is the negative side. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's look up here. On this board, again, I have 2 minus 3 equals -1. So the first thing is I have 2. Are these positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. So I'm going to start by just putting 2 positive little algebra tiles or little coins, whatever you want to call them here. But then I have a minus sign. So I'm going to draw that because I don't have a minus symbol. But I have a minus sign, just like we said. And then I have 3. Again, are these positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. So I'm going to put 3 positives. And I'm going to stop here, and we're not going to do anything on the other side of the equal sign yet. But I have 2 minus 3. Well, when I look at these, right, it looks like I have 5 positives. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's 5 yellows.
There's 5 yellows, so it's like I have 5 positives. But really, this subtraction sign is getting distributed whenever I subtract. It's getting distributed to each coin, basically, or algebra tile on the side. So whenever I'm subtracting, I'm distributing that negative, and I'm going to flip it over because it's no longer a positive because we're subtracting. And we're going to make these actually negatives. So the subtraction sign goes through all of them, right? And instead of subtracting, now that they're already flipped over, this now means that it's positive.
Oh.
You see that?
Okay.
So when I'm subtracting, again, I'm distributing that negative, and then they're all becoming negative. So now we can see I have 2 positives, right, and 3 negatives, which doesn't that, sound just like what we had here? We're doing 2 plus -3, 2 positives, and 3 negatives.
Yes.
They're exactly the same thing. There's just another way to show it, right? And then to solve, I'm going to finish this up. So equals a -1, so I'll put a red one over here. And it's saying that this side of the equal sign, right, is equal to the other side. So this side is equal to the other. And the way I would show that, once we have this all spread out, I'm going to put the equation again down here, right? I would have 2 positives, just like I have up here. And then I have 3 negatives. And I'm just going to put them side by side without that plus sign, because we know adding them just means that we're making them one group, right? So when I put them side by side, anytime I have a pair, they cancel each other out. So it's these two would cancel out, these two would cancel out, and I'd have one left over. And the reason they cancel each other out is because they're opposites of each other. So I have a positive and a negative, right? It's just like fire and water. When you have fire and you throw some water on there, they cancel each other out. Same thing here. So these would cancel out, and I would be left with one negative, just like it shows in my equation. So that's just acting out the equation. We feel good about that?
I feel great.
Okay, and I'm just going to quickly go over the other side too, just so you can see. Right, this would be 2 positives, and then on this side I would have 3 negatives, and it would equal my -1. So really, they mean the exact same thing, whether I'm doing it this way as subtraction or this way. So either way. I'm going to show you another thing. If you didn't have algebra tiles, because you don't have any algebra tiles with you right now, right, in class, I'm just going to show you how you would do this differently if you were just drawing it. And I'll just slice it, whatever. So if I was just drawing this, I'm going to draw it all out, because sometimes whenever I'm going to draw it all out because sometimes whenever you're using algebra tiles, you can get confused on what you've done and what you haven't done. So I like using the algebra tiles and all, but it can get confusing on whether I flip something or not, or what the case is. So I'm going to show you if I drew it all out and I didn't just get rid of it. And actually I'm going to do it this way. So we'll do my equation up top, same like before. 2 minus 3 equals -1. So this time I'm going to draw everything. So I have 2 positives, and I'm just going to draw them like my little coins and then put positive signs in them.
Those look like positive protons.
They do, just like in science, right? Wasn't that cool? Then I'm going to draw my subtraction sign, right? And then my 3 positives. Okay? And then put this equals, of course, 1 negative. So we're going to see if that's true, basically. So just like I told you before, right? My subtraction symbol, what does it do?
It changes it to the opposite.
It makes it the opposite. Good. Because we talked about opposites and how negatives work and subtraction works. It distributes it, do you think just to 1?
I think it distributes to all.
It does. So it goes to all 3 of them, right? Anything that's right after it, and it changes them. So that's what I'm going to show you down here. So these stayed the same. I said a positive 1, positive, another 1. So I have 2 positives. And do you think that this subtraction is going to stay the same now that it's working with something else?
No, because if it turns to the opposite, it's going to turn into addition.
Exactly. So this becomes the opposite along with the things that are next to it, what's right after it, to the right. So this becomes a plus sign. And then these are no longer positives, but
negative.
They are negatives.
Like negative electrons.
Exactly. Negative electrons. And then this equals, that's the same like before, 1 negative. Then I'm going to use my board because I don't have enough room. I'm going to just put it down here at the bottom. And I'm going to keep going. So this was step 1, right? So we drew it out. Step 2 is where it changed. And then I'm going to put step 3 on this board, and I'll do it in a different color. Doing this purple color. And now this is where I like to pair them up side by side. So we can agree, right? These would all become one group, and I don't need that plus sign in the middle anymore. And that's what's so awesome about once this changes, is when we're adding things together, we can just group them. It's hard to do that with subtraction. That's why it changes. So I'm going to go ahead and group them all together. So I have 2 positives, positive, positive, and then I have these 3 negatives. I'm going to put them side by side. So negative, negative, negative. And this, we said, equals a -1. So this is my 3rd step. Once I have them side by side, now I can go through and I can cancel out the things that are the same, right? Just like we said, fire and water, they're opposites, and they cancel each other out. So here I have one group I can cancel out, and another group, and I'm left with 1 negative. Now, does that equal 1 negative?
It looks balanced.
It is. That's perfectly balanced and equal. So that's how I know I got the right answer. Good job. Okay, Miss Novak, so you're going to do this one on your own.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please ask me.
Okay. So I remember that with my algebra tiles, I need to draw one positive, and then I can draw my two negatives.
Are we drawing two negative? Oh, yes. You're right. Keep going.
And then bring down my subtraction sign.
Mm-hmm.
That was step one. Okay.
And then in this one, we're trying to figure out what it equals, right? Because it doesn't tell us what it equals. So we're solving at the same time as we're using our algebra tiles.
So should I put my equal sign?
You can, yeah. Put it at the end so we can figure out what it equals.
All right.
Good.
So then I know that I have a subtraction sign, which means that I need to add the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep the first one the same because there's no subtraction sign in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I change my subtraction into an addition and add the opposite, which would make these two negatives.
Because that negative distributes that.
Distributes like this.
There we go.
And then distributes into positive.
Good.
And then it equals something. And then I group them together. Positive, positive, positive. And I notice since they're all positives, then I can just group them all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 3 positives.
That's right. So when you solve this, what would that be? What would you answer?
This equals 3, which is a positive.
So if you have any questions, make sure you ask the teacher. They have a key so they can check it also for you. But I need you drawing these out for now. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Well, that is very interesting. I thought you were looking at me. I'm continuing. Don't make me laugh. Interesting. You know, that's a good question. Why are you getting the same thing for this equation? Why are you getting the same thing for this equation and the same thing for this equation? They're two totally different things.
Okay, I need to leave.
Focus. I'm just gonna edit this out.